Hello you fantastic people and welcome back to Borderlands 3. In this video I have the top 5 best pistols in the entire game, including non-DLC and DLC weapons for all characters for bossing and mobbing situations. Irrespective of what crazy abilities each Vault Hunter has, all of these weapons will do very well in all situations. In this video, I'm going to go over everything you guys need to know about them, where to find them, what they're good at, what they're not so good at, as well as whatever secret hidden abilities the legendaries have, because they always have something that's not written on the card, which even after using them, sometimes you still don't find out what the hidden ability is because it's that well hidden. I'm going to include all of them in this video for you guys, as well as showing gameplay for all weapons in bossing, mobbing, and a raid boss situation so you guys can see how well they all do in different circumstances, all using the same build and setup being my Alpha Flak build, which was posted the other day. It is just a damage and crit damage build, so no particular weapon is being amped more. If you guys want to check out that, it's linked down below or it's on the channel. Let's get into the number one spot though, starting with what you guys likely will guess is the Lightshow pistol. It's from DLC 3. It's practically just a mini Monarch, an agile, high fire rate, high damage pistol, which is crazy good for pretty much every situation in the game, which is why it's taken the number one spot for me. Whatever character I'm playing, the Lightshow does very well at. If you guys want to get this one, you will need DLC 3. Don't stress if you don't have DLC, there's plenty of non-DLC weapons in this list, but the Lightshow just takes the cake. If you want it, you can get this one from Lizzy, a crew challenge boss in the Obsidian Forest, again, DLC 3. This one is a very good pistol. It comes with all elemental types, so it's very effective against whatever boss you're taking on. You don't have to worry about trying to stack your ASC elemental for it to do anything. It'll just work straight off the bat for any build. It has high fire rate, crazy fire rate, because it is a flat-off pistol, and very high damage. It's pretty much only negatives. It has a slightly slower reload time than most pistols, because again, that's flat-off's thing. But also the accuracy does drop off if you're at really long distance because of the firing pattern. It's a bit of a circular firing pattern. So if you're trying to hit a small melee one grunt from like 50 meters away, you're gonna have a tough time. If they're a bigger enemy like Wotan or Grave Ward, you'll no stress at all. It's not that inaccurate, but it's definitely not pinpoint. So it's better for playing aggressive and playing up close, and you'll just absolutely shred everything. Against raid bosses, it is definitely one of the best pistols in this list for sure, particularly because it comes with the elemental types that can take on any enemy in the game. And for Psycho Reaver, one of the healthiest enemies in the game, will take out each phase, at least with Alpha Flak, in one fadeaway, one clip, or less. It is very good pistol. I'd highly recommend you guys checking this one out. Moving on to the second place, I had a tough time deciding what I wanted to put in the second place and third place. Honestly, you can switch these around however you guys like. It's pretty much up to personal preference. But my second place is currently going to, believe it or not, an Atlas pistol called the Multi-Tap. This thing, don't sleep on it. It got buffed recently, and yes, I haven't used an Atlas pistol at all in this game until it got buffed, but it is very good for pretty much everything in the entire game. It is a base game weapon, comes from Katagawa Ball, Skywell 47, from Mayhem 6 and above, and is very good. It's only non-elemental. That's the only thing really holding it back. It doesn't have all elemental types, but this thing is really accurate at range. You'll be able to hit that melee one grunt from 100 meters away. If you personally have the accuracy, the gun is going to shoot straight the entire time, and you'll be able to take them out, which is really nice. I started using this pistol around when the new Trials event came out, where you had to get it done in less than 5 minutes to get all the loot, and this is one of the best weapons for that because it's just so pinpoint. You don't have to run around chasing enemies. You can just kind of hit them from range, which is quite nice. It has a solid fire rate. I use a Revolter shield pretty much all the time now, so everything has a cracked fire rate, but even if you don't have that shield, it's still a decent fire rate. It also has a tracking grenade. Like a lot of Atlas pistols, if you change firing modes, it'll shoot out a grenade or a POC or something, and whatever enemies are nearby, it'll start tracking them. They'll glow red, and then you'll be able to essentially have aimbot. Like, all the bullets will just spin around corners and hit those enemies and do a ton of damage because you're not missing any shots. Like, you physically can't miss shots, which is awesome. Also, a special ability of this one in particular, if for some reason you haven't taken out all the enemies that you currently have tracked by the time you empty your magazine, which, to be fair, is pretty infrequent because this thing's very strong, but if it happens to happen, you'll actually shoot out a cryo rocket upon reloading, which kind of just finishes off that last enemy if you do have one left, which is pretty cool. The negatives for the multi-tap is the slow reload. I believe I have a particularly slow one, to be honest. I don't remember my level 65 one being this slow, so maybe keep an eye out if you guys go to farm this one for a better reload speed one. It's definitely primarily a mobbing weapon, particularly with that tracker grenade. If you use that frequently, that is where it definitely excels. But it is still very good for bossing. Any like main campaign boss like Tyrene, Grave Ward, Agonizer, all them will go down very, very quickly. It also will take out Reaver in a very decent time. The only one that I'd say that it struggles with, and I wouldn't recommend using it for, like there's just flat out better options, is the raid boss, being Hermie. Wouldn't waste your time. It doesn't do the damage. There's just better options. Primarily, I would say because it doesn't have an elemental type, you're just not being very efficient. But for everything else in the game, it does very, very well. And I'd recommend it highly. Hence, it's in the second spot. Alright, as for third place, it is the Radical Pistol. It is a DLC weapon, but don't stress, if you don't have DLC, the Hellshock is a base game weapon, the Beacon is a DLC 3 weapon, so if you have that but not others, and the Radical one is a DLC 6 weapon. All three are pretty much the same thing with slightly different abilities. Some have different elemental types, but they all do crazy damage and are all very good. So if you have any or all of them, I'd recommend using any or all of them because they're all really, really good at both bossing and mobbing situations. I'm going to go over the Radical though because it's the newest one and the one I particularly like the most. It is from DLC 6. You can get it from a Hermie, the new raid boss, or you can get it from the Ava missions. I'll put the boss name on screen because I honestly forget how to pronounce it, and I personally farm Hermie myself, but you can get it from there as well. This thing only comes in shock, has a really high damage and fire rate, and has an awesome animation. If you guys haven't seen it, essentially you shoot the regular bullets and then little homing spikes come out from wherever you've hit an enemy and they home in and hit the same enemy or other enemies and are just really good for clearing rooms and looking really cool at the same time. They're also very, very strong. Like usually sometimes those little tracker things are a bit they're a bit derpy, but these ones are really, really nice. It also low-key reminds me of The Mandalorian. If you guys have seen the TV show or, you know, Star Wars, the little gauntlet he has on his arm that shoots those tracker darts and just like clears the whole room reminds me of this pistol, and that just makes the design even cooler to me. Rate it. The negatives for this thing, it is a melee one pistol. That's the main thing that kind of dropped it back to third place rather than second. That charge time is quite annoying, particularly for mobbing situations. You kind of got to, you know, stare at an enemy for a half second to a full second while you're not shooting and they're shooting at you because you're waiting for your pistol to charge up, which is a little bit awkward sometimes. It also has decent range. I'd say I'd put it in between. It's not like pinpoint like the multi-tap, but it's not as bad as the Lightshow. So you can hit things from range, but you'll probably miss, you know, a few shots. It's good, but it's not amazing. It does have the multi-tap beaten in bossing situations, particularly the very healthy boy category. For example, Sakariva, it'll take out in one clip per phase, as well as Hermie. It's not the best option, like there are better options. For example, the Lightshow has elemental type, so it's going to be beaten by that, considering it's a shock-locked weapon. But it is very, very decent considering. Like, it takes out a fair amount of health. I'll show some clips on screen so you guys can see. It does some good work. Honestly, it's a very viable weapon to take out Hermie if you want to farm him with this gun. It'll definitely work. Like I said, there's just slightly better options if you want to get it done in a faster time. But still, very fun, very cool to use, and does a decent amount of damage. I'd recommend you guys picking this one up. Let's move on to fourth place. And this one might be slightly controversial. Amongst the community, there's a big argument of, is the trick shot better? Is the Maggie better? Personally, I think they're both lit weapons that are very good at different things. And I'm just going to be annoying and put them both shared in the fourth spot. Because, to be honest, they're good at different things, and they're better than each other at different things. So honestly, I'm putting them in the exact same spot because you need to go beat them both. Not one, both. You need to use them both. Starting off with the Maggie, it's the original pistol masher from Borderlands 2. I don't know if it's in Borderlands 1, to be honest. I didn't play it. But Borderlands 2, it was lit. Borderlands 3, it's lit. It's really good for Flak in particular. The masher is very good for his action skills, getting them back, as well as putting bullets back in the mag. It's just fantastic all around for Flak, honestly. As well as other characters, don't get me wrong. Very good on everyone for bossing and mobbing. It just works very well for Flak in particular. If you guys want this one yourselves, you can get it from the World Drop system in base game, or the dedicated drop is from Turnkey Tim in Floodmore Basin. The dedicated did change, I want to say like 9 months ago-ish. So if you don't know where Turnkey Tim is, they've recently become a respawnable boss again recently. It was like 9 months ago. But there is a video on it in my description. I did make that when it did happen originally. So if you need a guide, I got you. But moving on to the negatives for the Maggie, it does not come in elemental types, unfortunately. It's only a non-elemental weapon. So like I said, does really well in mobbing situations. The Malawan guys, the COV, don't stand a chance. Even Wotan, regular bosses like Grave Ward, Tyrene, Agonizer, it'll sort all of them out just fine, in fact, in very good time. But when you get to the really healthy club department, you know, like Reaver and Hermie, Reaver, to be fair, does pretty good damage, actually, considering it's only, you know, a non-elemental weapon. But when you get to Hermie, it's just pretty much inefficient. It'll definitely work, but it'll just take one of the longer times. There's better options because other weapons have elemental types. So everything except Hermie, the Maggie's got this. Just use something else for Hermie. Now, as for the trick shot, it's apparent competition. It is from Arms Race DLC 5. You cannot get it from base game, unfortunately. This thing is also a very, very good weapon. It is a pinpoint accurate, crazy fire rate only when you're hitting something. If you're shooting at nothing or you're missing the enemy you're trying to hit, it'll shoot like 1 to 2 bullets per second and be very, very slow. But the second you start hitting them, it'll go brr and dump the entire mag. And combine that with its very, very nice damage, the DPS is insane. You'll take out pretty much any enemy you're versing in one magazine, you know, with the exception of bosses. Any mobbing enemy you'll take out in one magazine. But the problem is you'll dump the mag every single time, regardless of if you're taking out a very, very weak tank or, you know, a mech. Like, you'll dump every time and you'll have to reload every time, which is the main negative with the gun. You spend 50% of the time reloading, so you want to use this on a character that has some reload speed buffs in their build somewhere, whether that be via passives or the skill tree. Like, I know Zane mains love it. Flak, if you opt out of, you know, some damage and put a few points into reload speed, you'll definitely get that reload time down a lot. But I personally just left it with no reload speed buff. So I spent a lot of time reloading, but it's a very, very nice weapon regardless. The pinpoint accuracy, I love going for headshots. You just dink everybody. And because it's a Jacob's weapons, it's ricocheting to nearby enemies. It's taking out crowds. It's very, very nice. And surprisingly, very good at bossing. It takes out Grave Ward in like 2 clips, considering they're only like 6 bullet mags, I think, is very good. As well as Wotan, it just popped that thing's head. It was incredible. So pretty much if you're accurate and you don't care about reloading regularly, then definitely use this weapon. It's a fantastic one. The only other negative is just the same as the Maggie. It's a non-elemental weapon, so it's not great against the healthy boys. Against Reaver, it's okay. It does it in a solid time, nothing too crazy, but against Hermie, it's just not doing the damage, doesn't have the elemental types, so there's just a lot of better options out there. Now, just before we jump into the 5th spot, I'm actually going to have a bonus 6th weapon, particularly for Flak mains, which honestly is my favorite pistol in the entire game right now. It just wasn't fair to leave it in the top 5 for other characters because it doesn't work the same on them. But if you're a Flak main, stick around. Let's jump into the 5th spot though. It is the Tizzy COV pistol from Arms Race. This thing comes in all elemental types except non-elemental and has one of the craziest fire rates in the entire game. It takes a while to like spool up and get going, but once it is, it has an insane fire rate. It takes out everything that you're currently aiming at. That includes Healthy Boy Club, Psycho Reaver, Hermie raid boss, you know, the Guardian takedown boss, if anybody does that, the Wotan fight, everything is out of here. And the actual base damage itself, if you're trying to take out mobbing situations, like individual shots do a decent amount of damage as well, so it's a pretty good mobbing weapon. It also has like a little tracking shot particle effect, kind of like the Radical, but not quite as insane. So it tracks out and takes out other enemies as well, which is cool, adds a little effect to it. Now, you might be wondering, why is it in 5th spot? If you can take out the Healthy Boy Club, if it has crazy fire rate, why isn't it, you know, above at least the trick shot and the Maggie? This thing has some of the worst negatives out of all of them. Its ammo consumption is filthy. It's horrible. It's next to the Sandhawk with how bad its ammo consumption is. It'll dump not only the mag, but your entire ammo capacity at full SDU size in like under a minute. It's ridiculous. Like a raid boss, a Hermie farm, you have to have a cut burst launch pad. You'll run out multiple times. I think I ran out 4, 5, maybe even 6 times. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a lot in one Hermie farm, making it completely ridiculous. Like, you have to switch to a cut burst launch pad all the time, or you have to have, I don't know, gravity snare with ammo regen on. It's very impractical to use for anything other than bossing situations, which you can go back to an ammo dump all the time. So for things like Grave Ward or, you know, just pulling it out for a Wotan fight, it's great. But if you're trying to take out Hermie, or if you're trying to mob with it, you're going to be pulling out a cut burst launch pad all the time. You're going to be stopping at every ammo vendor. You're going to be checking all the chests for ammo because you're going to run out all the time. It is, of course, also a COV weapon. I'm personally not a huge fan of them because, you know, sometimes it's just a quick spray bottle of water on the gun and then it's fixed, or sometimes you got to pull the whole thing apart and put it back together and it takes like 5 seconds. It's very unreliable in that sense. But also, I think this is just this, not just a C of E thing, but just a Tizzy thing. Sometimes the fire rate gets capped and it acts as if it's at full heat and it's only shooting like, 2 bullets a second. It's very, very slow and it's not spooling at all. It's just that one flat fire rate, which is incredibly slow. I don't know what the dealio is with that, but that's also a negative. I'm not a fan of that, so that's why it drops to 5th place. It's a fantastic weapon, but it definitely cannot be your main weapon, and you definitely have to have a car personal launch pad on you. Alright, as for the bonus 6th spot, this is my favorite gun in the entire game. Not just for pistols, all guns included, this is my favorite. So for flak mains, accurate players of different characters, or honestly, if you don't fit in those 2 categories, maybe just check it out anyway, because you might want to start using flak and try out this gun. It is the King/Queen's Call. It was already my favorite gun from the very start of the game. The design of it, the animation is awesome, and it recently got buffed to the point where it is so strong. It is my go-to weapon for every bossing situation. For Grave Ward, for Wotan, for Joey from the Cartels, to Hermie the raid boss. Particularly Hermie, I think it is actually Flak's best choice. Like, the Monarch was my go-to, but honestly, the King/Queen's Call, I think, is a better choice now for Flak in raid boss situations. Because, if you guys didn't know, the King/Queen's Call, it's a Jacob's pistol. If you hit a critical hit, it puts bullets back in the mag constantly, and also shoots out 3 projectiles, and they home into the same enemy, dealing even more damage, which you guys are probably already seeing on screen. You can just spam this thing in Gorillas the Mist, which whenever you hit anything counts as a critical hit, putting bullets back in the mag, getting that animation, and doing crazy, crazy damage, and you can spam it like crazy. If you have a good trigger finger, go ham. Try and shoot as many shots into Hermie at the same time as you can. You can take out the entire phase in one fadeaway, which is incredible. Switch to another weapon really quickly with multiple pellets like a Monarch or a shotgun like the Butcher. Get your action skill back again, your fadeaway, and then go ham again with the King/Queen's Call. Also, the crazy hidden ability of this thing, which I honestly didn't know for like 9 months to maybe even a year of using it, it has lifesteal, which if you guys didn't know is very, very strong. If you hit a critical hit with this gun, it will put a portion of your health bar back into your health. So that's why it's so good for the raid boss, because Flak, glass cannon, he can't take a lot of hits, and the raid boss slaps in their damage. So sometimes you just get downed constantly. It's very annoying. Monarch was previously my go-to for the raid boss, but I was definitely downing regularly and having to get up from those little Varkids. Now, if you're in Gorillas in the Mist and spamming the heck out of the King/Queen's Call, you can't go down because you're dealing so much damage. The lifesteal is just juicing you constantly to the point where their attacks aren't strong enough. You can just keep going ham until they're gone. It is the best bossing weapon for Flak right now. I highly recommend you guys checking it out. It comes out in all elemental types. It is from base game, and it drops from Tyrene. It does not drop from Troy. Do not let anyone else tell you it drops from Troy. It would make sense, don't get me wrong, that, the King's Call would drop from Troy, the Queen's Call would drop from Tyrene, because, the God Queen, the God King, whatever the hell they were called during the story, but it doesn't. It is just Tyrene. So many people have been told from other things, other avenues, rumors going around. I can assure you, I have farmed them both multiple thousands of times. It has only ever dropped from Tyrene, and only ever will. So don't waste your time on Troy. A bunch of people came in my chat the other day and said they had wasted a couple of hours on Troy, and then I had to tell them that that was for nothing because it only drops from Tyrene. And that's really sad. So make sure you go farm Tyrene, not Troy, alright? That's the main part of this segment. Go farm Tyrene. And that is top 5, or kinda I went to top 6 to be honest. Pistols in the game right now at level 72. Mayhem 10, 11. Or playthroughs as well. Hope you guys did find this video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, don't forget to smash subscribe down below. Click that like button. Both are totally free. Help me out a bunch, and I very much do appreciate it. Other than that, we have a Twitch we stream to every night. We also have a Discord with awesome people. Both are linked down below. Feel free to check them out. That'd be awesome. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. See you guys next video and a live stream. Adios.